Good morning. It's great to have you with us today for this Data Europa academic webinar, Open Data Maturity in Europe 2025, Progress, Best Practices, and Key Insights. As always, we'll give everyone just a brief moment to connect. In the meantime, feel free to say hello in the chat, as you're already been doing, and let us know where you are connecting from today. From my side, I'm connecting from Luxembourg. That is particularly sunny, so a sunny Friday here in Luxembourg. I see people joining from Trieste, from Brussels, Croatia, the Netherlands, Austria, Bratislava. So nice to have so many of you from so many different places across Europe today. For those that are not familiar with me, my name is Flora Copelou, and I work at the Publications Office of the EU on the Data Europa Academy, which is the learning hub of the European Data Portal. Today's webinar will focus on the Open Data Maturity Report. This is a webinar that takes place once per year, and it's one of your favorite webinars. This year, we will focus on the insights and the results of the Open Data Maturity Report 2025. The report was published in December 2025, and it is available on the European Data Portal. For those that are not familiar with the report, it's an annual assessment that evaluates the majority of European countries in promoting the availability and reuse of public sector information. And the report serves both as a source of inspiration in order to advance the open data efforts, as well as a benchmarking tool to measure the progress over time. In this session today, we will begin with an introduction to the Open Data Maturity Assessment and this year's results from one of the authors of the report. And then we will hear from representatives of two countries that recorded significant increases in open data maturity between 2024 and 2025, Spain and France. They will present their concrete examples, lessons learned, as well as maybe some next steps that they have in mind. So before we begin, just a few practical notes. Yes, this session is being recorded. The recording and the presentation slides will be made available on Data Europa Academy and will be shared with you after the event, a few days after the event takes place. So no worries if you have any connection issues, if you have a meeting, we will share with you the recording and the slides. At the end of the webinar, we will invite you to answer a short feedback survey. You will see a link and a QR code on your screen. Please share with us your feedback. This is very important to further improve our content and our sessions. You're always welcome to post your questions in the chat at any time. We will make sure to collect them and address them during the Q&A session. If we don't have enough time to collect or answer all of them, we will make sure to provide you with answers in the upcoming days in the Q&A report. So for today's webinar, I'm not alone. I am very happy to introduce today's speakers. As mentioned, we have first and foremost Armand Beirous. Armand is a researcher at Capgemini Invent with a strong focus on public sector innovation and the digital transformation of government services. He has contributed to several European Commission initiatives, particularly those supporting the EU's Digital Decade objectives. He also served as a lead analyst for the 2024 and 2025 editions of the Open Data Maturity Report, alongside broader work in the field of e-government. And today, Armand will open the session with an introduction to the Open Data Maturity 2025 results. Next, we have Alicia Nieto Ramos. Alicia is a technical advisor at the Spanish Data Office, Dirección General del Dato. Within the division of Design, Innovation and Exploitation, her work focuses on data catalog management and metadata standards, contributing to interoperability and the reuse of Spain's national open data ecosystem. And today, Lisa will share more about Spain's work on open data. Next, we have Tana Lee. Tana is a data product portfolio manager overseeing and supporting data products across French ministries, and she will share insights from the French Open Data portal and their best practices. Thanks to all of you for being today with us. We are very much looking forward to learn from you. And before I give the floor to Armand, just a very short introduction of our agenda. We already started with this short introduction. Then Armand will take 15 minutes to introduce us to the Open Data Maturity Assessment 2025 and the results. Then we will have the first use case from Spain. Alicia will have 25 minutes to share with us the updates of the Spanish portal. And the last presentation for today will be from Tana Lee, that Tana will share with us the best practices and updates from the French Open Data portal. And then we will all regroup again, where Armand will lead the Q&A session. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to give the floor to Armand, who will introduce us to the Open Data Maturity 2025 results.
Well, thank you very much, Flora. And thank you everybody for joining me today in discussing the Open Data Maturity Assessment. As Flora mentioned, my name is Armand, and at the team at Capgemini, we conduct this study on behalf of the Commission and the Publications Office. Basically, it's a long-standing study. We just did the 11th edition, celebrating the 10th edition and 10-year anniversary last year. And essentially, it aims to evaluate and document the progress of European countries in making public sector information available and stimulating its reuse in line with the Open Data Directive. And the core principle in the directive is that there is information that is already being collected by governments for various purposes, and thus there's additional value in this information being open and also being able to be reused by others within society. And so what we do is we document, not only evaluate, but also document year-on-year progress with participating countries. This year we had 36 countries participate. This includes the EU 27, of course, but also 3 EFTA countries, namely Iceland, Norway, and Switzerland. In addition to 6 candidate countries, with the recent addition of Montenegro and North Macedonia this year. And in evaluating progress and effectiveness of open data initiatives, we look at it across 4 key thematic dimensions. And the idea is that these key dimensions are intended to capture the end-to-end value chain of open data. So it always starts with policies, and then it's about actually maintaining a portal where these open data are available. And the data on this portal and also the accessibility to this portal must be of high quality. And then the end of the value chain is the impact, and that's where the magic happens, where this data is reused for different purposes, in civil society, in government, in private sector, and that's where the value is made. And so I'll go through each of these dimensions this year and share with you their progress. One important aspect of our study is that we look at progress on an aggregate level across all 4 of these dimensions. And so we look at averages across all 4 dimensions, and these are basically the main benchmark that we look at progress. And this year, the EU average across all 4 of these dimensions has reached 86%. And this is a 3 percentage point increase since the previous assessment. So it's a pretty good progress point. And we see that the most mature countries are France, Poland, and Lithuania, with notable mentions to the most improved countries since the previous assessment, Albania, Malta, and Germany. And what we also like to do is that we cluster countries based on their scoring. And so what we imagine as beginners are countries that are scoring between 15% and 69%. Followers are 73 to 84%. Fast trackers are 87 to 93%. And then the trendsetters or the best performers are 94 to 100%. And so this is essentially how countries can not only learn from each other, so they can see which countries are within their same cluster, but also which countries are doing better and might be best to learn from in terms of best practices. Starting with the policy dimension, just a little bit of information on what this means is that what we look at is policies and strategies that are in place by countries regarding open data. We also look at governance models, and so how countries are managing the different stakeholders within their open data ecosystem, whether it be informal or a formal mechanism. And lastly, we also look at what measures are deployed to implement the policies and strategies that they have put in place. And here we see that open data governance is becoming more institutionalized, actually. This was a key trend in this year's report. And what this means is that their countries are increasingly embedding open data practices into their long-term administrative routines. And a nice example I can point to is Croatia. Croatia implemented a multi-stakeholder body that monitors compliance, improves data accessibility, and supports public authorities. They report that members of this multi-stakeholder body include the Ministry of Justice, but also the Office of the Information Commissioner and the State Geodetic Administration. And also very interestingly, that their coordination body can also form thematic working groups. So this can include people from local authorities, but also academia, businesses, and civil society. And so there's a broad participation happening from different sectors of their open data ecosystem, making this a very institutionalized practice within Croatia. In terms of the portal dimension remains the second most mature. And what we notice is that there's more of a focus to users' need and user-centric features. And that's essentially what the dimension also aims to measure, in that are there functionalities on the portal available to make it a very seamless and easy process to access open data. Um, and what are the availability of open data across various sectors, what strategies are in place to ensure the long-term sustainability of the portal, but also engagement with the portal as well. Um, and more specifically, a pattern that we see this year is that more portals demonstrate progress in enabling user-centric features such as Sparkle endpoints for automated metadata access, and also promoting high-value data sets, which I will also discuss in a bit, and engage in activities to understand users' need, which essentially helps the long-term sustainability of the portal. Most mature countries in this sense are Poland, France, Ukraine, and Lithuania. So yeah, feel free to check out their open data portals to see, yeah, essentially how well they're progressing with this as well. Next, we have the quality dimension. And what we look at here is that, are there measures in place to have systematic and timely harvesting of metadata? What monitoring mechanisms are available and supporting activities to ensure that the publication of metadata is compliant with licensing requirements, with interoperability standards such as DCAT-AP, and other deployment quality requirements that helps essentially not only gather data within their own open data ecosystem within the one consolidated portal, but also possibly from open data portals from outside. So we also look at how well it connects to standards set by the European Data Portal, which is the central portal that we at data.europa.eu promote for accessing open data. And interestingly, this year we see that although progress continues and there's year-on-year progress, a key challenge is the technical integration required to ensure DCAT-MP compliant metadata across diverse and national systems. And France was one of the countries that reported this to us. And what they said, that they addressed this problem by using a standard converter that turns geographic metadata into DCAT-AP allowing them to collect metadata from regional and thematic platforms more easily. And also to ensure that the European data portal could read their metadata correctly, France said that they also ran Sparkle checks to validate the output. And so what they noticed is that these checks uncovered inconsistencies, which they were then able to resolve, and overall improve their DCAT AP compliance and interoperability. Um, and so yeah, that's the quality dimension. And then lastly, we have the impact dimension, which essentially looks at what methods are in place to measure open data reuse, but also what steps are taken to assess reusers' needs. So the people that actually reuse the data, how are they being addressed within their national policies and strategies? And we look at a lot of reuse case examples as well within this. Maybe it's one of the most important aspects of this report is to actually show how countries are reusing open data in practice, and it's a great source of inspiration for others as well. Um, and what we noticed this year is that more countries actually report collaborations between the different sectors of their open data ecosystem, so government, civil society, and academia, to actually create but also document open data impact. And an interesting example I can point to in this year's edition is from Portugal. In Lisbon, we see that the Urban Co-Creation Data Lab built predictive models that simulate how pollutants spread during incidents like gas leaks and chemical spills. And these models that they report to have used combine municipal infrastructure data. So this is open data from the municipal level, but also national weather data to generate detailed forecasts. And most interesting, in my opinion, is that they integrated and this data was integrated into a simulation engine developed in partnership with the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. And so there's a lot of collaboration, cross-border collaboration, but also national collaboration happening in this sense. And this has created a very nice reuse case, which is able to see how pollutants are spread during incidents within their environment. And so yeah, and most notably in this aspect, we see that Germany, Norway, and Albania are most improved. And so they have reported more reuse cases, but also more mechanisms for actually measuring reuse within their national contexts. And then we also within our process we also measure high value data sets. And so high value data sets are data sets that hold significant potential for economic, social, and environmental benefits when made openly available. And what we do is that we measure if countries are applying not only the regulation on high value data sets, but also we ask them how they are progressing with implementing different categories of high value data sets. And so in the middle, you can see the categories: statistics, geospatial, meteorological, Earth observation, mobility, and companies and company ownership. And this has been a pattern with previous years as well, as that we see that statistics is a high runner. Same with geospatial. These are high value data sets, categories of high value data sets that are most reported or most distinguished within open data portals. Um, and also additionally, we also noticed that the technical requirements that are needed for reporting this high value data sets tend to be less mature than non-technical requirements. So namely, what we see is that identification and inventory is the most mature, meaning that countries are most focused on actually identifying the high value data sets, rather than, let's just say, having the capability of bulk download or having machine readable formats via APIs. These more technical requirements are still developing, whereas the identification and actually addressing the legal barriers for distinguishing these open data high value data sets are more mature. And most mature countries in this sense are Estonia, France, Finland, Slovenia, Latvia, and Denmark. And so these are the main insights, I would say, from this year's edition. What we have now on the European data portal is this very nice interactive website where you can actually interact with the data through these dashboards. where you can select countries, select different dimensions, different years, and actually be able to view the data. And it's a very nice interface, I would say. We worked very hard on this aspect, so please go on the European Data Portal's website and check it out, see what exactly the results look like in practice. We also have different pages for each country with their best practices as well, and the reuse cases. And so it's very interesting to also look at. I would highly encourage you to go check it out. And yeah, that is, I would say, that is this year's edition of the Open Data Maturity Assessment.
Thank you so much, Arman, for your presentation. We have already received a few questions, but as we mentioned, we will answer them in the end of the Q&A session. Now is the time for the first presentation of one of the guest countries today. So we would like to give the floor to Alicia. Alicia, the floor is yours. We're looking forward to get to know more about Spain's work on open data.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Alicia, just for a second, we cannot see. I think you don't have your camera on. If you can just turn on your camera.
No?
Yes, now we can see you. Perfect.
Perfect. Let me check. No?
Yes, we can see you. Perfect, perfect.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, Flora and Robin, for the invitation. I am Alicia Nieto, Technical Advisor at the General Directorate of Data within the State Secretariat for Digitalization and Artificial Intelligence under the Ministry for Digital Transformation and Civil Service of Spain. This is the agenda for today. We will start with an introduction, and then we will explain the two pillars for open data in Spain: the strategy, which is the Aporta initiative, and the platform, which is data.gouv.fr. After that, I will dive into the results for the 2025 Open Data Maturity Assessment, where we have achieved a favorable result, Finally, I will close with the roadmap for 2026 and some final reflections. Before diving into details, let me give you a quick summary. The Open Data Maturity Assessment is the questionnaire that my colleague has explained, and in Spain we have achieved very excellent results. Out of the 100% possible score, we have excelled in impact and policy. However, we still have challenges that we are working on, and later I will tell you more about the roadmap. To give you some more context, this is my unit, the General Directorate of Data, that was created recently to promote the use of data for better policies and services. We work on two fronts: public sector, fostering a data-oriented culture, and the private sector, promoting data spaces and new business models. To understand our challenge, you must know that Spain is highly decentralized. We have 3 levels of government producing data. First, the General State Administration, then 17 autonomous communities with extensive competencies like health or education, and over 8,000 of local entities. Coordinating interoperability across those thousands of independent publishers is the core mission of the Aporta initiative. So the Aporta initiative is the national strategy to coordinate all of this. It's managed by Red.S and my ministry, and the main objectives are, first of all, promote and coordinate the opening of public sector data. Second, to stimulate the market linked to the use of this information. And third, to contribute of the development of the European data strategy in Spain. Who collaborates with us? Well, collaboration, as you may notice, is key. So we work through an inclusive governance model. First, the data managers, this left part, national, regional, and local administrations, and also the reusers, companies, entrepreneurs, citizens. We coordinate this ecosystem through national groups and international initiatives like the OECD. The initiative is developed under 7 lines of action. It's not only technology, it's regulation, awareness, innovation, and all of these actions coverage in data.gouv.fr. The functioning of this platform has been key to the high scores that we actually achieve on the ODM that I will explain later. Data.gouv.s hosts the National Open Data Catalog. It is the access point to more than 90,000 datasets, and technically it acts as a communication channel within the European data portal that you can see on the right part on the screen. The datasets harvested by us are subsequently harvested by data.europa.eu, and I invite you all to visit because the interface is available also in English. Now, as catalog without reuse makes no sense, you know. That's why offer specific services for users, and these functionalities help us score in the portal dimension of the report. First of all, we provide multiple mechanisms to locate data. A search engine filtering by sector, APIs and SparkQL endpoints for advanced queries, and the National Single Information Point that has also been launched. If users cannot find a specific data, they can use the data request section, and they can also engage directly with the publishing tool through the comment section that is available in the portal to resolve questions and report errors. This feedback loop is essential for the portal usage subdimension of the portal dimension in the ODM report. To showcase the value, we have also the applications catalog. This space gathers more than 400 applications developed by companies and citizens using open data in sectors like health or transport. We also have a companies catalog. This directory lists more than 100 companies that have created innovative solutions based on public data. Now, let's move to the learning part, which is very interesting because we offer resources for all levels. First, guides on standards and best practices, current affairs like news, blogs, and a big weekly newsletter to stay up to date, or even podcasts. They're also there in the platform. Finally, the Aporta challenges. These are competitions when we award prizes to the best prototypes to solve specific societal challenges with open data. Now the publishers part. For publishers, we help them comply with regulations. These services have been crucial for performance in the impact and portal dimensions, and they ensure a steady flow of data. The federation can be carried out in 2 different ways. First, manual upload using web forms, and then automatic federation by exposing an RDF file, which supports profile like DCAT-EPES, which is the specialization of DCAT-EP here in Spain. To ensure quality, publishers, this is okay, perfect. To ensure quality, publishers have access to tools within their account, and the portal periodically verifies the accessibility of distributions, providing a summary of broken links so that the publishers can fix them, which is very important during the ODM report. Here in this slide, you can see where the documentation lives. We provide extensive guides for public bodies, templates for RDF on XML federation, and best practices. I'm sorry because the slide is in Spanish. It wasn't able in English because the portal is in English, but some parts are still in Spanish. We provide also technical guides for implementation. The NT-RISP, which is the technical interoperability standard for the reuse of information resources, is our own standard here in Spain. is the mandatory regulation that defines how administration must publish data to ensure we speak all the same language, and is the left part of the slide that you can see there. And also technical guides for DCAT-IP-ES, the Spanish adaptation of the European standard DCAT-IP, is also available there in the portal. We offer online guides and code repositories and a GitHub to facilitate compliance. For organizations without their own catalog, we offer manual form to create datasets directly on the platform. This is what you can see here in the slide. Finally, this is the private area. Here, a ministry or entity can manage their datasets and check the federation status, monitor broken links, and view analytics on their dashboard. Now let's talk a little bit about the results, the performance and the rankings. This is like the left part, my colleague Armo has shown before, but we are very proud and happy with the results because Spain here, we rank 5th among US state members and 6th in the overall with a 95.6% maturity score. And we main in the Treasures group, you can see there, that red part, this is us. And now let's move on to the strengths. First of all, the policy. The main driver is the progress in the regulatory framework and the 5th Open Government Plan. That is here our plan of government. We have seen a boost in the publication and high-value data sets. Then the plural dimension, what you can see there with a 95.5%. The score is because data.gouv.fr, all things, the portal that I've shown you before, these services for users, all the portal is a strong platform. As I shown you, it has extensive content, news, interaction mechanisms, and that's the reason of our score. And in the impact dimension, we score 100%. We continue to be leading performance, and the reason is because we have a systematic measurement of data usage, and we have impact across the 4 domains. There are 4 domains that my colleague has shown you before: government, society, environment, and economy. Now let's focus a little bit on the quality, because this is our lowest score with 87.8%. And the report, well, here you can see the 3 dimensions: policy, portal, and quality, but I will focus on the quality part because it's our lowest, our most weakness part, and I think is the most important here to share with you. And the reason of the score we got is, first of all, metadata accuracy and completeness, because the usage of recommended and optional fields in the DCAT-IP standard is still dropping between 71% and 90%. So it's still we are still struggling with that, but working very hard on it. Also, deployment quality and leak data, because is the most critical part. Less than 10% nowadays of the datasets consistently use URIs, and less than 10% of datasets are linked to other reorganized sources. Fortunately, we now have the new portal, and we are working hard on it to solve it, but that's the reason of why the quality dimension rank a little bit lower in the report. Now I'm gonna talk a little bit of the roadmap of 2026, because I've shown you the challenges, but how are we addressing this? First of all, the policy dimension. We're planning to update the pricing orders to make all high-value datasets available for free. Yes, up to this moment, there are still some high-value datasets that are not free to charge, and we are working on that. And there you have the technical interoperability standard for the use of public sector information. The new NT-RISP will be focused on several things, but on that. Also the portal. Regarding the portal, we have we have an old version when the assessment was done. Unfortunately, if you go now to our website, you can see a new version. So the portal new is in production, and it includes the mission preview functionalities that were not available when the ODM report was done. But we will be working still on that. On the impact dimension, I will go through impact and then leave quality for the last one. On the impact dimension, we scored 100%, but we'll not be lowering the word, because we will continue to refine the measurements, methodologies, and so on. Regarding the quality, this is our main focus. As I mentioned before, we are drafting the new NTI-RISP, this technical interoperability standard for the reuse of public sector information that will be aligned with the KTP-ES, which is the national adaptation of the standard. There, before moving on to the next slide, you can see in the quality part an initiative called Impulsa Data. This is a project that we got here in the directorate that is very important to help with the quality part. And this is the infography that summarizes this Impulsa Data project. This is, to specifically tackle the quality challenge, because this project is a march of 22 different projects. It was launched in 2025, and the mission is to identify what public data is actually needed. And the mission is, well, first of all, we are working with ministries to standardize how public data is managed and enrich the national catalog in data.gouv.fr, this catalog that I've shown you during the presentation, and also to facilitate data usage, not only in private sector, but also in private companies. So it's a very huge, project with these 22 sub-projects, with the aim to enrich this national catalog, which is data.gouv.fr. Also, this is very important for us because we adopted the International Open Data Charter that in October 2025, the last October 2025. So this shows our commitment to open data. As you can see here on the screen, the Open Data Charter is built in many pillars: inclusive development, that it should be open by default, timely and understandable, accessible and usable, of course, and comparable, interoperable, all the principles regarding the Open Data Charter that we adhere in the last October 2025. Here, there are still 2 slides, kind of an annex and something to think about. First of all, here you can see a little bit more of the KTP-ES, which is the Spanish adaptation of the KTP, the standard European standard. This is the metadata model that it will be included in the new version of this NT-RISP, this technical standard of interoperability that I've been telling you a lot. And it adopts the guidelines of the KTP version 2.1.1. So you have the GitHub link there in the part. It's a link in English if you want to see more information of this standard that we've developed in the directorate. Finally, because this is an open data webinar, this is kind of something to think about, because this is a reflection of artificial intelligence. The traditional FAIR principle, FAIR principles, were born for human science, but now AI transforms all the consumption. So we are moving towards second level, which is readiness. And we have to be sure that our data is AI ready. We have to move on to the next step. So this is something that we might take into account, that we might think of. And that's the reason why this slide is here. So like a short conclusion, we here in Spain are proud of our leadership in the ODM report, and especially in the dimension of impact. And now we have strategic projects like Impulsa Data that I've mentioned you, and the anti-risk and the new portal to move on to the next part and to close this quality gap that we are still struggling with. So that was the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, all of you. I think I'm time, Flora and Robin.
You are just in time. I have to say it was a perfect finish from your side. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your presentation. We have already received quite a lot of questions. There have been also some general discussion on the concept of open data, but no worries. We will discuss them on the Q&A part of our session. So now it's the time to go to the second use case for today, our last presentation. I would like to give the floor to Tanali, that she will provide us with more information on the open data best practices from France.
Thank you, Flora. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me today. I will be speaking on the behalf of the French Open Data team, and I'll try to share concrete lessons on how France always tries to keep on improving its open data practices. So hopefully my presentation will be able to illustrate what Armand was presenting and complement Alicia's presentation too. So maybe first, a quick word about me. So as Flora was saying, I'm Tanali. I work as a data product portfolio manager, and as such, I'm responsible for overseeing and supporting data products across French ministries. And I'm also in charge of promoting interministerial data products across ministries. I work within the Direction Interministerielle du Numérique, which is the Interministerial Directorate for Digital Affairs in France. So it's the department in charge of France's digital strategy, and it is under the Prime Minister Authority. And so in my team, we're developing the data.gouv.fr portal that I will also be presenting today. And I think I'll say data.gouv, so it'll be easier for me to pronounce each time. So today, I'll be going through all the open data maturity dimensions that Armand presented, and I'll try to give examples of how France is doing it, and a quick overview of what we think are how best practices for each. So here I put a synthesis of the elements that I'm gonna present, and so I'm gonna dive into each one separately. So first, for the policy dimension, the first thing that I wanted to highlight was that France has a strong national open data policy that is supported by a strong legal framework. It revolves around one key principle that we have, which is open data by default. This principle was enshrined in what we call the Law for Digital Republic, that is from 2016. So today we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of this law. And this law states that all the documents that are produced or received within the framework of a public service mission has to be published by default. One key takeaway is that open data is embedded by law, but it is also supported by governance and strategy. So we actually make implementation feasible. On governance, we rely on like kind of network of rules. So on the national level, we have the general data administrator that coordinates the overall policy and ensures coherence across administrations. This role is responsible for setting guidelines, monitoring compliance, and as I was saying, ensuring that the data initiatives that are led align with the national objectives. Then in each ministry are appointed what we call ministerial data administrators, who are responsible for the implementation of the open data strategy in their own specific domain. Those ministerial data administrators, they often work closely with open data officers who focus more on the operational aspects of data publication and management. And with all that, at the interministerial level, we have a small team, which is actually within the data.gouv team, that is in charge of assisting all data producers in developing and implementing the open data strategies with legal, technical, and organizational assistance. And so in practice, how it works is that this network of roles is kept alive and active through a lot of exchanges. So we have regular meetings between all the ministerial data administrators during which ones they can share best practices, the challenges, and help each other. We also have working groups on specific topics. And in addition to all these collective meetings, we also have regular one-to-one exchanges between the data.gouv team and the ministries to address the issues that they can have and to monitor the implementation of their strategies. And so to really ensure concrete implementation and not like staying on this meta level, ministries also each adopt dedicated digital and data roadmaps. So in these roadmaps, they define the strategic priorities, they identify the data sets that they want to publish, and they also set out the governance and mechanisms that will make it possible for them. And to support these roadmaps, they also adopt every year action plans with really concrete measures that they will implement. One second policy strength that I wanted to highlight was how the community was always engaged and actively engaged, and also able to give inputs to shape the national strategy. When the ministries develop their policies and their strategies, they always consult with stakeholders like local authorities, public sector organizations, civil society. And to do that, they also do like surveys, public consultations, or interviews. Data users are also continuously able to contribute to the national strategy by requesting data sets and giving feedbacks. One key channel that we have for that is the public forum that is integrated on our national portal, which is forum.data.gouv.fr. And on this public forum, they can discuss datasets, ask questions, and suggest improvements. And there's like full transparency on this public forum and on the data requests. So it really fosters a dialogue between data users and data publishers. And it really helps prioritize the needs for instance, in the roadmaps. And so this request and the progress made to our publication for this request are publicly tracked on another platform that we have that is called ouverture.data.gouv.fr. Ouverture means openness. And so it really sets a public monitoring system. And so it's, for instance, allows to control the progress made on implementing the ministerial roadmaps that I described. So anyone can quickly check which are the open data commitments that have been made and see if it has been fulfilled. And this is made in full transparency. And we have also developed indicators to track the duration of an open data request opening from the request to the publication on our portal. So now on the portal dimension, so as I was saying, data.gouv.fr is our national portal. It is an open, community-based platform that is designed to centralize and structure public data in France. One key point of this platform is that anyone can publish. So not only public bodies, but also businesses, civil society organizations, and citizens. We have a lot of citizen-generated data sets on the platform. So it is the catalog of French data, where today you can find more than 74,000 data sets, but you can also find APIs that are referenced. And as I was saying, they are published by more than 6,000 organizations that can be either public bodies or like civil society organizations. One key change that has happened in the recent years has been that our national portal evolved to allow users to identify data that exists but is not openly accessible. So the long-term objective for data.gouv.fr is to become the central portal for all public data in France, open, restricted, or closed. And so recently, the platform was extended to reference restricted access data. And this approach, we're working on it, and it will be further developed in coordination with other projects that we're working on in our department, namely one that is called Data Pass, which details who can access certain data sets and under what conditions. And overall, the goal will be to ensure that all data that exists can be discovered, even if it cannot really made fully open. On our portal, people and organizations that develop projects from open data can also share their uses with the community on the portal, and that's what we call reuses. So we have more than 5,000 reuses today referenced on data.gouv. And we also have more than 17,000 discussions, which really shows how the community is really dynamic and engaged. One key thing about our portal that we consider being a good practice is that it's really a user-centered platform that evolves based on the needs that we identify. So the developments are done in an agile way, and they are prioritized mainly based on user feedbacks and usage metrics. So user feedbacks can be gathered like through a lot of channels. We run user interviews with user tests. We also gather feedbacks through our open forum that I presented, also through our support system, and also on social media. And they're really essential for prioritizing our work. And the usage metrics, they'll also help us understand how users really interact with the features and the datasets on the portal. But this working methodology does not prevent us from having an overall roadmap. So we have a roadmap that we use more as like a guiding line for the team, but it's not set in stone, and we don't have specific timelines of specific features that we want to do and describe in it. And the way we work is that we work in 2-week sprints with a transparent backlog. So it allows us to have like the shortest feedback loops. Because after like developing a feature, we rely heavily on user research. So as I was saying, we're like conducting user tests and interviews to validate the hypothesis that we had and ensure ourselves that the features that we develop are really relevant. And so all of this help us learn as quickly as possible whether we're really improving the portal for the users and know more like about their behavior, their needs, and what they expect on it. So here I gave you 3 examples of how we developed user-centered features on the platform. So first one is tabular data API. So on data.gouv, most tabular datasets can now be accessed through an API that is generated automatically by data.gouv. So for each resource containing well-structured data, you actually have a tab with a swagger that explains you how to use the API and help you in testing your request directly. One other thing that we recently developed is map review. So now on geographic data, like data with the GeoJSON format, you can visualize like the data directly on a map on the platform. And one of our latest release is a redesigned search engine. So what we did is that we redesigned our search engine because we wanted to improve the performance, the relevance, and the user experience with it, with the overall aim of enhancing discoverability. So what we did is that we added new smarter filters to refine the results more easily. And we also developed a unified search across all types of contents on the platforms. So as I was saying, on data.gouv, we have datasets, but also reuses, organizations, APIs. So when you search for something, it actually browses all the types of content. And so now we're also working on other features. So based on needs that were expressed and identified across data producers, we're working on providing better data visualization and exploration tools. We're today working on developing an integrated data visualization studio that will allow data producers to create data visualizations on the datasets. Because they actually told us how they really need to make their data more understandable. So we're now starting with an MVP with two basic visualizations, line charts and bar charts. And so with this MVP, a data producer can choose the datasets on which he wants to create data visualization, choose the type that he wants, and then choose what he wants to plot on the x-axis and the y-axis. And you also have filter options. So this is not developed yet. It's still a prototype, and we'll test it with the like data producers to see if it really matches their needs. And so we're also working on how we can support data producers in showcasing the data with thematic pages and curated selections. One distinctive point about our portal is that its development is also guided by measurable impact indicators. So data.gouv aims to simplify access to public data, a mission that we have broke down into 4 main objectives: improving the data discoverability, promoting data quality, promoting reuse, and also facilitating access to information. And so in response to all these objectives and the needs that were reported by users, we're prioritizing our projects. And we also have implemented impact indicators that allow us to track our objectives, see what we're doing is actually working or not. And so we can adapt our strategy accordingly. So here I did put you on this slide the impact indicators that we chose. So for the first objective, it's the percentage of users who responded positively to the question, did you find what you were looking for? Because on data.gouv, when you search for a data set, and you do like multiple searches for the same thing, at one point, like something will show on your screen and ask you whether or not you found what you were looking for. And that's also where we will put a link towards the forum. So if you didn't find what you were looking for, you can actually request the data. Another indicator that we have is the average quality score of the 100 most downloaded datasets on the platform. For the third objective, it's the average time for a legitimate response to discussions related to datasets. And for how aim to facilitate access to information, we measure the number of top 100% datasets associated with quality reuse. On the portal dimension, so our strategy is, as I was saying, is to make data.gouv the place where we centralize and structure public data. And so we have recently articulated our portal strategy with thematic platforms that are aligned with priority public policies. Yeah. And so the logic behind that is that we want to reduce fragmentation. So we want to keep data.gouv the central catalog and reference points for data sets in France. But we also want to offer structured domain-specific entry points for people who think in terms of public policies and not data sets. And those thematic platforms also allow the data producers behind the datasets to animate their thematic ecosystem. And so today we have thematic platforms on weather data, on transport data, on environmental data, on culture data, and we have many more to come. On the quality dimension, so France has made some progress in improving data quality, and it's mainly thanks to three main initiatives. So the first one is that we put a really strong emphasis on promoting and supporting the use of data schemas, which are essential for us to improve data quality and interoperability. So we maintain a dedicated platform for that, which is data.gouv.fr. So it's a site that references all public data schemas in France, and it also provides documentation, tools, and example to help data providers adopt standard data schemes and validate the data according to those data schemes. So for those who are not familiar with this concept, data schemas are used to describe data structures. So you actually describe what the different fields are, how the data is represented, what the possible values are. And so they kind of use as templates, so they really help increase the data quality, even more when you have a lot of data producers that produce the same kind of data. We've also been working on providing quality feedback to data producers. So we have redesigned the back office for publishers, and it now includes guidance and real-time quality indicators to help producers improve their data sets during the production process. So when you're naming your data sets, you have indications on how to best do it. You have indications on how to write a good description, on how to select your license. And for each dataset, we also provide a metadata quality score that allows data producers to identify the areas that need improvement if they want to actually improve the quality of the data. And this metadata quality score, it's publicly displayed. So it really encourages the data producers to try and to work on it. And one of our latest improvement is that we're currently experimenting AI-driven features to enhance data quality. We've recently developed AI-generated suggestions for keywords and short descriptions. So it helps publishers fill their metadata faster and in a more consistent way when they're publishing their data. And so they have the choice of actually using it or not, so humans actually stay in control. And now moving on the last, but not the least important dimension, which is impact. So in France, we conduct studies to measure open data impact based on a structured methodology that we have developed. It is based on examining 4 levels. For each level, we actually assess data use. So level 1, we look at raw data. So we look at dataset visits and downloads. Level 2, we measure the direct uses of data. So for this, we look at the number of and the nature of dataset reuses. Third level, we actually look into the indirect uses of data. And for this, we assess the use of reuses. And the last level is externalities, for which we observe the broader social economic impacts of open data. And so how we concretely do it is that for level 1 and 2, we measure them using the metrics that are provided by the data.gouv platform. And for level 3 and 4, we identify and we research, we interview, and we measure the impact of specific open data use cases. And so this approach is really in line, and it follows the guidance that is provided by the work that is currently led by data.europa.eu. And beyond measuring, we also actively work on stimulating reuse and value creation from open data through 3 streams of work. So first one is data promotion and discoverability. So for this one, we work on raising awareness about open data and really interesting open data sets among our users and the general public. And we do this through editorial work and content development. So we have, for instance, lists of curated data sets on relevant topics. Recently, we released a new page on data.gouv on election data sets, as we have municipal elections running soon in France. We also have monthly sections of the most relevant and interesting datasets and reuses. We have blog articles on high-impact datasets. We run social media campaigns, and we have a monthly newsletter. The second stream is community engagement. So we try as much as possible to engage with potential data users and foster exchanges between data users and data publishers with community-targeted programs and events. For that, I will give 2 examples. The first one is that we have a program called Open Data University that we develop in partnership with an association called Latitude, and through which teachers can make the students work on projects using open data so as to develop their skills. I don't have the statistics for 2025, but I have the ones for 2024. And we had like over 3,000 students that actually work on projects such as how do you promote access to culture in France? Is the distribution of charging infrastructures for electric vehicles in France really appropriate? We also organize events such as hackathons. Last year, we had a hackathon on climate projections data, during which Météo France, which is the main climate data producer in France, was able to be in the same space as data users, and together they were able to explore and develop solutions based on this newly opened climate data. And so the last lever for stimulating reuse that we have is capacity building and training. So we also try to work on strengthening data literacy and skills. And recently, we've developed a learning guide for data users with a series of learning resources that really allows anyone to learn how to use data. So you'll find resources on how to find the data that you're looking for, on how to retrieve data, on how to assess its quality, on how to manipulate it, and to visualize it. And so, yeah, you can find it directly on our platform. And I think that will be it for my presentation. I tried to give you like the best overview of everything we do on all the dimensions, and yeah, I can reply to any questions that you have.
Have all three of you back, and it's time to move on to the Q&A session. So I would like also to give the floor to Arman, which has been one of the authors of the ODM report, to answer some questions related also to the report itself, and also address some interesting questions that we have received for both Tana and Alicia.
Yes. Yeah, thank you everybody for putting all your questions in the chat. We will try to get through as many as we can, of course. So maybe it's best to start with some questions that are addressed to myself regarding the first presentation. One of our first questions is about which countries can participate in the ODM exercise, and specifically regarding the UK. So generally, the ODM exercise is a voluntary exercise. And what this means is that countries are invited to participate, countries across Europe. And the UK specifically has not elected to participate since 2022. We have obviously extended the invite to them. But all EU 27 countries have participated in the 2025 ODM exercise. And actually, we've had the most participating countries since the launch of the ODM exercise in 2015 this year. And so I would say, 36 is a record for us. But no, the UK has not participated in this year's exercise. Does the European Data Portal have any plans to make the marking schema stricter for the 2026 assessment? So the European Data Portal, we have an ongoing study to revise the ODM methodology. And in this process, the member states were invited to contribute their feedback through a survey at the start of the year. And now all the inputs are being processed, and this will lead to an updated methodology. And essentially these updates will be processed over time in phases. And in 2026, this means that some changes to the questionnaire, especially with view of reducing the burden on member states on reporting. But nonetheless, we will strive to preserve continuity in the reporting and be able to still compare findings to previous years. Of course, more information will be shared with questionnaire respondents when the 2026 exercise kicks off at the start of the second quarter. So I think that's another question for me. I saw no references to open data readiness, open data AI readiness in the report, considering that nowadays most data is fetched and served with AI public engines. Should it be considered as a key point to consider and evaluate? Well, what I would say is that the idea of AI readiness is an emerging concept. Of course, we've discussed it in the Thanh Ha presentation as well, and Alicia's. But the EDB team is indeed considering how best to define and measure this concept. However, several of the fundamental practices and infrastructures that make data good for humans also make data for machines, such as having high quality metadata, the availability of high quality data for model training and real-time data capabilities, and also offering access to data through APIs. So these elements are already considered in the ODM assessment, but we still need to develop the concept of AI readiness a little bit more before we fully incorporate it into future assessments. And maybe on that topic, there was also another question that I can bring my fellow panelists in. Feel free, maybe starting with Alicia. To what extent is AI used for data processing in your context, and particularly in verification, consolidation, and evaluation processes? And a follow-up question was, what control or oversight are in place to ensure data quality in this sense?
That was, sorry, Arman, a question for me, but I cannot find it in the chat. Sorry. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, no worries. I'm kind of summarizing the question, but essentially they're
Okay,
asking
perfect.
to what extent is AI used in data processing? For your
Okay.
context, yes.
I've seen a couple. Thank you very much. I've seen a couple of questions regarding AI, and you know, on what now I see. On what extent AI is used for data processing within individual countries? Well, okay, here what we do in the data.gouv.fr is that each institution, you know, builds, conforms the dataset, and it federates with it. So I don't know how much AI they actually use, but at the end of my presentation, I mentioned that this is a very important point because we have to be sure that the data that we already publish is not only fair but AI ready. I've seen a couple of questions here in the chat regarding that, and that's very important. How actually we measure if something does have quality enough to be AI ready? Are we ready for that? So that's something to really analyze and think of. Is our metadata do have enough fields to demonstrate or to publish if it's got quality enough? So that's the AI part. I don't know if you want me to answer questions that I've seen for me in the chat or better not.
Maybe I will guide the kind of conversation in terms of the
We're
questions.
here.
But thank you
Perfect.
very much for that answer. It was very clear. Maybe Thanh Ha, you could give some input in terms of how, to what extent is AI used in data processing also?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I've mentioned a bit of like the topic of AI in my presentation. So today in our team, we're trying to be very careful on where and how we use AI. And so we're trying to refine the most relevant use cases. And so we're still trying to figure out which are the most relevant use cases to use AI on the platform. So that's why we started experiencing on what I was saying about the keywords and the short descriptions. We've recently published an MCP to also experiment with that, and from this, we're gonna try and explore more use cases. We haven't done anything with AI and data processing.
Okay, great. And maybe another question for you, Thanh Ha. Which open source software are you using for data collection, processing, and presentation?
It's UData, and it's also the one that is used by Luxembourg, by Serbia, and by Portugal, I think. I can send you the link towards all the documentation on UData.
Great. Thank you for putting that in the chat for us. And meanwhile you're doing that, I'll ask a question to Alicia again. Could you please provide more information about the learning part of datos.gouv.es, about your national data portal?
Just publicly available. In data.gouv.es, on the right part, you can switch on the language between, you can go through English part, and there you can see, you can, search wherever you want, or even on the browser. And there you can see the podcasts and the documentation that I mentioned before. So I truly encourage you to go there.
Great. And maybe a follow-up, how do you also measure the reuse of open data so that the results can be clearly demonstrated?
Okay, the reuse, where everything regarding the impact dimension, there's also, I think there's like a new or something like that on the website. Again, if you search for open data impact, datos.gouv.es, I think there happen some indicators, and during the value chain, and it's explained there, but more or less their impact for both economic benefits, ambient, the part of ambient and all of that. So, and in social impact, there are like quality and quantity indicators. You can search there, open data, data.gouv.es, impact, and there's part of your reuse, and it explains all the chain value. So maybe there's a little bit more information.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, going back to you, Thanh Ha, can you tell us more about the National Open Data Strategy of France, including how often it is updated and how do you measure progress quantitatively?
So as I was saying in my presentation, so we have data roadmaps that are designed by French ministries quite regularly, and every year we have an action plan, and all the data sets that are set to be published according to the data roadmaps can be followed on ouverture.data.gouv.fr. And so you can actually track ministries' open data commitments and see whether it has been fulfilled in the timeline that has been indicated in the roadmaps.
Okay, great. And maybe another follow-up. Is data.gouv.fr, so your national open data portal, does it host the actual data, or is it harvesting metadata only? And the person is curious about how the tabular data API works, and if the latter case is true.
I think one of my colleagues, which is in the chat, replied to this question, but I can actually say it orally. So we have approximately 50% of the catalog that is harvested, and the rest is published on the platform. So some data are hosted in our server and others are not. And he sent some documentation on the tabular API.
Okay, great.
Put the link again.
Thank you very much for that. Going back to you, Alicia, we have a question about, do you have any feedback from users when it comes to findability and discoverability of data sets?
I think so. I think that we do have, I mentioned the catalog, several catalogs, but I think we've got it. Here in the portal, I may show you, but yes, fortunately there is. We received the feedback. Yes.
Okay, and also, where are data sets published in, so where data sets published in your national portal are being described? Where are they being described? What tools are being used for describing the metadata?
In the data sets that are that have been published goes through metadata, and institution uses their own tool to build that metadata. It could be a Thecan, or a Drupal or wherever. And what is implemented here is a shackle validation with Indicate AP. And the catalog, you can see here all the data catalog here, because data.gouv.es is a national information in a single national information point, and you can see the catalog there and all the data sets within its metadata. So,
Okay, great. I see we have 1 more minute for questions, so I'll give the last one to you, Thanh Ha. And this question is about how are you measuring the success of your national portal? Are there any specific KPIs for them?
So I think during my presentation, I dedicated a whole part to our impact indicators. So we have 4 impact indicators associated to the 4 objectives that we set to ourselves. And in the same way, I can send you documentation on our impact indicators. And so everything is on the slide, and so that you will be receiving after the webinar.
Okay, great. And I see we've hit the 25 mark, so I'll hand it back to you, Flora.
That's great. You're perfect on time. I think we tackled the majority of the questions that you shared with us. Thank you so much once again for your interest in this session, and also thank to the speakers that we have today. I learned so many things for your work and a lot of work that you're doing on your side. And obviously, we're looking forward to see your progress in the next year's report. So looking forward to this. And now, as you can see, it's time also to provide us with your feedback. So we're looking forward to receive your feedback from all of you. You can access the link in the survey that appears on top of our slides. And we are also having a next webinar coming very soon on the 13th of March in celebration of the Open Data Days. We are hosting this webinar that is touching upon rural areas. So it's called Open Data as a Public Good, Evidence-Based Development Across Territories. And you will see we'll have speakers from the Ireland and UK sharing examples, and as well as a speaker from the Open Knowledge Foundation discussing on the impact of open data. So please don't miss it. And of course, because we saw that you have been very talkative, you have a lot of ideas, a lot of questions, a lot of discussions with your fellow peers, you can continue that discussion in the collaborations channel. There's a dedicated section on the European Data Portal, so feel free to go there and continue the discussion. So with this, I would like once again to thank you. Thanks to all of our speakers for today's session. Thank you so much for all the work you are doing on the field of open data in Europe. And we're looking forward to hear more in the future about your progress and all the great work you've been doing. I'm wishing you all a nice weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you very much, Flora.
Thank you.